You have felt it, that specific kind of fog that settles inside the mind when you cannot find solid ground beneath your feet. Not the fog of sadness, but the weight of not knowing. Standing at a crossroads where none of the signs are legible. You have made decisions from inside that fog, and stayed in situations that were slowly dimming your light. Not because you wanted to, but because you could not see clearly enough to move. You have prayed, "Sovit wisdom morter there," and still felt that something essential was missing from your inner compass. That is not personal failure. That is what happens to a soul that has been cut off from its original source of divine illumination. That condition has a name, and it has a correction. Jesus knew this. He spoke directly into the center of this human experience, not with philosophy, not with rules, but with a declaration so precise it was designed to reorganize the consciousness of every person who received it. He spoke it in Aramaic, his living tongue, the language that carries frequencies the modern world has nearly forgotten. That declaration is Ene Ana Nura Dalma, the second of the 7 great I Am statements he gave to humanity, and it is still active. Today, we go inside the original language to discover what Ene Nanura Dalma truly means. In Aramaic, how Jesus intended it to function in the human mind, and how to activate it as a living protocol in your daily life. By the time this teaching ends, you will not merely understand these words. You will carry them as a living frequency. Stay with me. This light was always meant for you. There is a kind of suffering that leaves no visible wound. It does not announce itself at the dinner table, and it does not show up on any medical report. It is the suffering of a mind that cannot find its footing, a soul that keeps returning to the same questions without ever arriving at a settled, peaceful answer. Which direction is right? Is this the correct choice or the wrong one? Why does every path feel equally uncertain? You know this experience. You may be living inside it right now. Jesus spoke directly into this condition when he stood in the temple courts of Jerusalem during the Feast of Tabernacles and delivered the second of his 7 great I Am declarations. The Feast of Tabernacles was one of the most visually overwhelming occasions in the Jewish liturgical calendar, a festival during which enormous golden menorahs were lit throughout the temple courts, flooding the entire city with their blazing light. Thousands gathered beneath that external fire, and it was in that precise atmosphere, surrounded by light made by human hands, that Jesus stood and offered something of an entirely different origin. He declared, in the Aramaic, that every person in that crowd had spoken since childhood, Ene Nanura Dalma, I am the light of the world. He who follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. The word he chose, nura, carried a weight that ordinary translations cannot hold. In Aramaic, nura was not understood as simple brightness or decorative illumination. It was divine, activa radiance, a living intelligence that does not merely show you the path but penetrates, reorganizes, and becomes the path itself. Confusion, the circling, the paralysis, the relentless fog, was understood in this tradition as precisely what happens when nura is absent. Not punishment, a condition that can be corrected. The declaration, Ene Nano Nura Dalma, is built from 3 Aramaic layers, and each one addresses a different dimension of what confusion actually is. Understanding this architecture changes how you receive these words, and it changes what they are capable of doing in you. Ene, often collapsed into a simple I am, carries a doubling in Aramaic that translation erases entirely. Ene identifies the speaker, the living identity making the claim. Na adds the dimension of present, immediate reality. Not a distant theological proposal, but an announcement that what stands before you is this truth right now. Jesus was not pointing to a future divine quality or a reserved spiritual reserve. A was soling in teeth. Moment what you are searching for has already arrived. The light is not elsewhere. It is personally accessible, immediately present, for anyone willing to receive it. Nura draws from an ancient Semitic understanding in which light and intelligence were the same concept. To see clearly was to know clearly. Nura was therefore not simple brightness. It was the divine faculty that enables a soul to find its direction. Think of it as a spiritual compass that does not respond to emotion or circumstance, Only the truth. The fog that so many people carry as their normal state is not weakness. It is the condition of operating without this faculty, a faculty that was never meant to be absent from you. Dalma, translated as of the world, carries a scope that English entirely flattens. Alma in Aramaic refers to the totality of existence. Every dimension of reality, every era, every corridor through which a soul passes on its journey. When Jesus declared a dalma, he was not offering light for one people or one century. He was announcing a frequency designed to penetrate every layer of existence, including the exact layer where you are standing right now, uncertain of your next step. The words of Jesus in Aramaic open different pathways back to divine alignment. Each one represents a frequency capable of restoring something fragmented in human consciousness. Understanding these frequencies is the first step, but mastering their vibration in your daily life is where the true miracle happens. Aramaic words carry a sound dimension that is deeply vibrational, and some of these pronunciations may reach your ears slightly differently depending on how they are rendered. To help you connect with the correct pronunciation and practice these declarations with confidence, I created sacred study guides designed specifically for that purpose. The link is pinned in the comments, and your deeper practice begins there. After the declaration, Jesus immediately gave its operating condition. He who follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. That phrase, light of life, is in Aramaic nura dai. And hay does not simply mean biological existence. In Aramaic, it refers to the overflowing, surplus vitality of the divine, a life so full it generates its own radiance from within. Jesus was not merely promising that following this light resolves confusion. He was promising that it produces a quality of inner life that carries its own clarity, one that does not depend on external circumstances to sustain it. The Pharisees challenged him immediately. They declared his testimony invalid. A man cannot witness for himself. His response revealed the complete mechanics behind the declaration. He said, "I know where I came from and where I am going, but you do not know where I came from or where I am going." This was not defensiveness. It was a precise instruction about the root of all spiritual clarity. Jesus was identifying the two reference points that any soul requires in order to navigate without confusion, origin, and destination. When these 2 points are known, truly known, carried as an inner certainty, confusion has no foundation to stand on. Direction does not require perfect information about every step. It requires only that you know where you come from and where you are being guided. If this teaching is stirring a deep resonance in your heart, it is a sign that your soul is ready to return to its original blueprint. To support you in this transition, my guides explain the layers of meaning behind the first sacred words, offering you a path to clear the interference of the world. The link to access these tools is waiting for you in the pinned comment. If nura is always present and was never revoked, why does so much confusion persist? Why do sincere seekers continue to live in fog? The answer Jesus gave is precise. Not absence, interference. There is an active frequency of distortion at work in human consciousness. In John 8, Jesus identified this force directly, describing it as a source that does not stand in truth because truth is simply not in it. In Aramaic spiritual understanding, this clouding of inner perception is called hashuka, and hashuka is not merely the absence of nura. It is an active a frequency of distortion that settles over the mind's natural clarity the way static settles over a signal. It requires no power greater than nura to do its work. Only the space nura is not currently occupying. In lived experience, hashuka takes very recognizable forms. It is the internal voice that insists you are too broken, too late, or too disqualified for the direction your soul senses. It is the accumulated noise of other people's fear, layered over your own inner knowing. It is the exhaustion that builds over years of decisions made from anxiety rather than alignment. It is the deep, unexamined belief, often formed in childhood, that clarity belongs to others, but has somehow never been available to you. What the Aramaic teaching makes clear, however, is that hashuka holds no intrinsic power of its own. It exists only in the space left vacant by nura. This means the path out of confusion is not a battle against darkness. You do not overcome hashuka by confronting it. You dissolve it by restoring the frequency that hashuka cannot coexist with. Jesus neutis, and embedded within the declaration an ana nera dalma, a living protocol designed to do exactly that. The next step is not understanding it more deeply. The next step is activating it. The declaration Elaine nura dalma was not given only to be understood. It was given to be activated. The Aramaic tradition recognized that sacred words carry operational power only when approached with intention, stillness, and alignment of the inner state. What follows is a protocol drawn from the architecture of this declaration itself, from the precise mechanics. Jesus described in John 8, "Begin each morning before the noise of the day arrives. Sit in stillness. Place both hands over the center of your chest and take 3 slow, deliberate breaths. With each exhale, release what has been circling the weight of uncertainty, the unanswered questions. When stillness settles, speak the declaration aloud. Elaine nura dalma. Allow each syllable to land fully before moving to the next. You are not reciting a phrase. You are issuing a living frequency into the field of your own consciousness. Immediately after speaking the declaration, make 2 conscious inner statements. First, affirm your origin. I know where I came from. I was made by light. This restores the first reference point, Jesus identified as the anchor of all clarity. Then, affirm your destination. I know where I am going. I am being guided. This restores the second, and together, these 2 statements remove the very ground on which confusion stands. Remain in this posture of knowing for at least 5 minutes. Do not demand immediate answers to specific pending questions. Simply rest within the frequency. Nura does not respond to urgency, it responds to trust. As you practice this daily, not as performance, but as genuine reconnection, decisions will begin to clarify on their own. Direction will emerge without force, and the fog that once felt permanent will begin quietly and irreversibly to lift. This works not through effort, but through reconnection to a frequency that was never truly taken from you. Today, you stood inside the second of the 7 great I Am declarations of Jesusani, nura dalma. You received it not as a translation but as an Aramaic architecture of divine light. You understood that nura is not decorative brightness. It is the living, orienting radiance that enables a soul to find direction and hold it. You discovered that Hashuka, the clouding of inner perception, has no intrinsic power of its own and exists only where nura has not been restored. And you received a protocol rooted in the exact mechanics Jesus described. Affirm your origin, affirm your destination, and allow the frequency of Elaine nura dalma to reorganize what confusion has displaced. The world will continue offering you external noise. Systems will continue telling you that clarity requires more analysis, more information, more effort. But you now carry a different understanding. An ancient one. Clarity is not produced by accumulating more. It is restored by returning to a frequency that already exists within you. Jesus did not say, "I will help you find the light." He said, Elaine nura dalma, present tense. Active. Immediate. The light was never somewhere else waiting to be found. Every time you speak this declaration with intention, you are not performing a ritual. You are re-establishing contact with a frequency that has been active for 2,000 years and has lost nothing of its power. You are restoring the 2 reference points, origin and destination, that confusion requires you to forget. And as those reference points stabilize within you, direction does not need to be forced. It simply becomes the natural condition of a consciousness that has returned to its light. Visit Divine Light Academy at the link below to access my guides and start your journey into the living language of the Masters. But before you go, I want to hear from you. What did you feel during this session? Comment the word awakening below if you felt a shift in your energy today. We read every response, and your testimony strengthens this entire community of light. Right now, before you close this video, come to the comments and tell us, what did you feel? What shifted? We read every single response. And if this teaching found you today, subscribe to this channel. Every week, we go deeper into the ancient frequency codes that were always meant to be yours. We are just scratching the surface of this ancient power. Get ready, because in our next video, I will reveal even deeper Aramaic codes that unlock spiritual authority you've never imagined. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss this unfolding revelation.